The bell tolls. The midnight hour is upon us. It's time once again for two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
Any last words?
Yes, lots of them. I'm not sorry for what I did. It was justice, the same justice this system is incapable of delivering. You may hate me today, but tomorrow the world will see what I did and recognize me for my heroism.
Okay. Just so we're clear, you marched into a Baskin-Robbins nude, demanded free service, and torched several cars because nobody sang when you put money in the tip jar.
And I'd do it again.
I've got a letter of pardon from the mayor. Corey, quick, we need to get out of here and start the podcast. Also, please put some pants on.
I will not compromise my values, Maddie.
We'll get back to that then. Hi, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Corey. And this is Hallow-Holics
Hallow-Holics
Anonymous, a show dedicated to all things horror and occasionally Halloween.
And this week, somehow, we had originally planned for two different movies, and then, we just started with Maniac Cop, and apparently we both also watched Maniac Cop 2 and Maniac Cop 3.
And so we changed the episode into a Maniac Cop retrospective.
Which, hey, it was a fun ride once we got to part 2.
Yeah. Once we got through the unfortunate movie that is one, it got much, much better.
Well, let's just say this. It's not as terrible. It's not like a lot of other low-budget 80s films are. It's not as bad as Chud.
You take that back.
Chud is pretty terrible.
Chud is great.
Joe Bob Briggs agrees with me.
Joe Bob Briggs is a smart man.
So he hates Chud, so therefore I'm smart too.
Taste is subjective. Unless I like it, then it's good.
There is no
What about
taste
Chud?
in
How do you
Chud.
feel about Chud 2?
I don't like any Chud.
Chud.
I refuse to be associated with cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Thank you very much, sir.
Dude, we're doing Chud. I'm going to do Chud, and I'm just not going to tell you one episode.
Oh, guys, just to let you know in advance, from now on, we're going to be announcing our movies for the following week or the following episode so you can catch up before we record. So stay tuned.
Yeah. At the end, we will tell you what we are watching for next episode. Dun, dun, dun.
Now, real quick, I'd just like to say that there has been talk of a Maniac Cop remake for a while.
I actually didn't hear it as a remake. I heard it as a continuation.
Oh, no, definitely a remake.
Now,
there had been a point where they had approached Robert Z'Dar when he was still alive to, do a part 4, and he was totally on board for it, but before they were even going to start the project, he was diagnosed with neck cancer, and he had a 35% chance to live. He ended up getting surgery. That's why his voice was so much different as he got older, but they ended up kind of canning that. But there has been talk of a remake with a completely different tone.
You don't think his face was because of cancer, do you?
No, he had cherubism, which causes it basically causes the bone to degrade in your mandible and for soft tissue to replace it.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people grow out of it, but he didn't.
So he was like all cheek? Like if we squished him, he'd be super squishy?
Gosh, you were mean.
No, I'm not being mean.
No,
I'm being serious. It's
like scar tissue, really.
Oh, that wouldn't be nice.
Yeah.
I'm poking my cheeks right now and wondering how Robert Z'Dar would feel.
I'm sure a lot of people approached the late Robert Z'Dar before about his medical condition.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that be all jokes aside, I make fun of things I like. I make fun of things I don't like, but I do really like Robert Z'Dar. I think he had a very interesting face, and he's been in some good stuff, and he's been in some terrible stuff, and he's been in some epic terrible stuff like Samurai Cop.
Yeah, which honestly, let's be fair, he was the best thing in it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, The thing about Robert Zadar is that no matter how bad or good the production was, he was always giving it his all and having a lot of fun.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of, and it's funny because he's in Maniac Cop 2, but he reminds me a lot of Danny Trejo. Like, Danny Trejo has been in a lot of terrible movies, but everything he's in, like, he is genuinely stoked to be there, and he is just doing his thing, and it's always great to see.
Yeah, I love any actor who, like, is like that. Those are the kind of people you want to work with.
I mean, sometimes that may go too far. Like, I imagine Nicolas Cage could be hard to work with, and he really puts everything into most movies.
Well, yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's probably a method actor, and God knows those people have issues.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I said it. I'm not even sorry. Method actors, come at me.
No, you shouldn't be. There was this big drama where I work one time because a method actor choked another actor at a rehearsal.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, it was weird. Young method actors tend to be a little more disjointed than older ones, but they're all very annoying.
Are you ready for the game?
Yeah, I don't understand the game. I don't think you actually talked to me about this game.
Yeah, I named it. I called Bake 'em Away Toys because I was thinking of The Simpsons.
There were a lot of words. Where's my notes? Oh no, where the fuck's my notes? Oh, on the wrong screen. I'm an idiot.
Now use that.
Bake 'em away, toys, arrest that monster. I have no idea what that means.
Okay, well that was the name I gave to this game. The idea is that, and we're going to do the rule of 3 here where I give you 3, you give me 3. Imagine that you're a member of the absolute worst police force in the world and you're about to arrest a monster, but you're not going to arrest them for murder because that's too easy. We have to come up with a reason they're being arrested. What are they being convicted of? And it can't be tax evasion. There's the Law and Order theme.
That was bad.
So I'll give you the first one. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. The Mummy, and you can pick whichever mummy you want to go with there.
The Mummy. Are there laws against hygiene anywhere?
Against being clean or against being dirty?
No, I think that the Mummy would I think it's less an arrest and more of a quarantine with the Mummy. I think like they're doing right now, like all those anti-vax kids, how they're kind of keeping them out of schools and stuff. I think that that's what would happen to the Mummy. He would be forced by law to stay away from other people because he's full of disease and maggots because he's just an old corpse.
Okay, point 1 to Corey.
Yeah.
And it's relevant.
Is it? Oh, yeah, it is. I'm political. Look at me go.
But we're nonpartisan here, guys.
Right, completely. Except,
no, seriously, vaccinate your kids.
Yeah,
please.
for real. Don't be a moron.
And don't use essential oils for it.
Yeah. I mean, use them to smell good, but don't use them for, Yeah,
like you can make some amazing bath bombs.
I'm not against Eastern medicine as long as you also go to a doctor and use Western medicine. Pills work sometimes, guys. Vaccines definitely work. That's why measles barely existed until a month ago.
In the United States.
Yes. Sorry, third world countries. I haven't forgotten you.
Okay, give me a monster.
All right. The mutant cave-dwelling bat people from The Descent.
Oh, ooh. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and go with drunken disorderly conduct.
That's not bad. I would have gone with squatting and
Yeah, because seriously, there's no way those guys living in that cave down there aren't seriously screwed up. Even if they're not drinking what we call alcohol, they're drinking something.
Considering that that's a dark, damp cave, that's probably full of hallucinogenic mold and mushrooms, all mixing in that blood soup that they swim in all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys are wasted.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you a classic Cthulhu.
Definitely. No, that's not illegal. That's just against rules. I was going to say sleeping on the job, which is clever, but not the focus. Inciting riots and disturbing the peace through his followers. He'd be given the Charles Manson treatment where he didn't actually do anything, but he's getting arrested for the things his followers do.
Yeah. You know, what also would have worked was bestiality.
Are you being clever, or did he really like do it?
There's always mating with Cthulhu, man.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yes, that one is a perfectly acceptable answer.
How about Critters? Because I've been on this weird Critters obsession lately.
Critters? Probably breaking and entering, assault with a deadly weapon, i.e. their teeth, and
their balls. Because they turn into big rolling balls.
Yeah, and to some degree arson.
Yeah, there's some arson.
Yeah.
Possible theft of intergalactic spaceships.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, they're already on the run.
Yeah, they've done wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yours next is the zombie hot riders from Sometimes They Come Back.
Oh, definitely guilty of being way too cool.
That's not illegal.
It's like they're guilty of being cool on a Friday.
Is this the Footloose town that they're being arrested in?
I almost brought up Footloose when I was talking about the Mummy, but it didn't fit. So that's funny. We're on the same wavelength. All right.
I just pictured the Mummy trying to do those dance moves, lifting his leg up, and then it breaking off, falling to the ground.
Noise violation for listening to their rockabilly and psychobilly too loud while they're working on their hot rods and revving them engines and other manly words.
But that's not what they're being arrested for.
No. You told us not to arrest them.
Exactly. I said that's not what they're being arrested for.
Right.
This is a terrible police force, but at least they eventually get the job done.
All right, my turn. Let's go with one of your favorites, the Graboids from Tremors.
I'm going to say Driving Without a License. I mean, seriously, all of the trucks and cars they steal and they drag into the subterranean tunnels.
Grand Theft Auto works too, yeah.
All kinds of problems there.
Trespassing as well. I mean, they destroyed Bert's basement.
Yeah.
But that one got what was coming to it.
And public indecency. They're always breeding in the wilds.
Yeah, and they are shaped very inappropriately.
Exactly.
This was a fun game.
I think it was. That'll be one to remember for the ages.
Yes, I agree.
In the meantime, while we remember...
Oh, God.
We should remember lots of stuff, yes.
Fuck.
This day in horror history.
Peter Benchley, author of the Jaws novel, was born in 1940. Robert A. Heinlein, author of Starship Troopers, passed away in 1988. And The Corpse Vanishes, Horror of Dracula, and The Burning were released.
The Burning with dude from Seinfeld?
Yes.
Did we talk about that movie on the show?
We briefly touched on it when we were talking about Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, okay. I watched that again not too long ago. I thought it was for the show. I guess not. Well, maybe it was for this. Maybe I just got obsessed with camp movies because of that.
I think I had wanted to do The Burning and changed my mind last minute to Sleepaway Camp too.
I always want to pronounce that The Burning. Do you do that? Like, do you accidentally feel that in your brain every time you see it? The Burning?
No, I speak proper English.
Valid point.
That was on this day in horror history.
That was so loud.
No one knows his name.
Everybody knows his name. It's Cordell.
No one knows his face.
Cordell!
Everybody knows his face, too. It's all scratched up. But they know it's Cordell.
Sometimes you want to go.
Carries a badge.
Hi, Cordell.
The head was unstable and there was a deceleration injury. 13-year-old hanging.
You really think a cop did this?
And Tom Adkins got done dirty in this one.
Yeah.
That it was a police officer instead
He
of
was
some
good.
Richard Brown,
bully
man.
dressed up like a cop.
Fight squad.
I mean, he carried the plot really well until
again.
the love interest took over.
He strikes without cause, without mercy.
You may be getting information from inside the department.
That means he is one of us.
You see a cop, you cross to the other side of the street. You're not gonna get me.
Everybody who wants to shoot a cop nowadays got one hell of an excuse.
Since when is my personal life any of your business? Since your wife was found dead in the motel room. You gotta be wrong.
What a terrible way to tell somebody his wife died.
Oh, that guy's kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
Keep it in so I can see them. Hold on, I didn't do any of this.
When a cop turns killer, you have the right to remain silent forever. Maniac Cop.
A vigilante cop who refuses to play by the rules of law decides to take it into his own hands, indiscriminately killing the good and the bad. This man, who once bled blue, will make the streets run red with blood. The only one who can stop him is the only other living human being with a deadly jaw to rival his own, Bruce Campbell. Playing a guy, not actually playing himself, Bruce Campbell.
I think I call him Officer Bruce Campbell a lot in mine.
Who remembers that character? Who remembers a lot of the character names in this, honestly?
I had to look them all up for 2.
Now, of course, that tagline probably didn't take too long to come up with. You have the right to remain silent. Forever.
Was that really the tagline for this?
It is. Directed by William Lustig, who would direct all of the sequels, and actually he directed Maniac. He did only partially direct Part 3, though, and we'll get into that when we're talking about it. But treatment.
I have an interesting note when we get to when we get to the sequel, when we get to Part 2 about Maniac. So I got to remember to mention that, but it's really cool.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah, me too.
Now, these were all written and primarily produced by Larry Cohen, who I'm not sure he liked the phrase B-movie, but I'm going to use the phrase now in the most respectful way I can. One of the B-movie masters of the 80s and even 90s. You know, he did like The Stuff and Q the Winged Serpent, all that good stuff.
Oh, The Stuff is so good.
You can't get enough of The Stuff.
That's true. I would eat so much of that. It looks delicious.
Cordell's... I'm sorry, not Cordell. Maniac Cop's revenge against the people who wronged him. I didn't really catch on to that until way later, because it's like he was killing everybody.
That's because it's nonsense in this first one. It's barely even part of the plot in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the plot is very confusing in the first one. Luckily, they reined it in for the sequels.
Yeah. And honestly, when it wasn't the action sequences, the pacing was really slow in the first one as well.
But the action sequences were actually, I imagine you're going to get to those, but there were the stunts in all 3 of these are great and done by actual people, not computers.
Now, initially, the co-producers didn't actually like the adultery element with Bruce's character and Lorraine Landon. They thought, he can't be a hero if he's cheating on his wife, but Cohen pretty much fought for that. He was like, no, he's got to have this affair because he's not a perfect person. Nobody is, But I really love Bruce Campbell, but I don't think he stood out in this. He wasn't really a legend yet at this point, not much of a legend, and his charisma just doesn't come off on screen on this one. It was just too straight. The role was too straight. Yeah.
I wonder how this relates to, like, Sam Raimi's in this briefly, and then Ted Raimi's in the sequel, or vice versa, I forget. And I wonder... Okay. I wonder what the connection is with them, like the 3 of them in these movies.
Well, they were always
friends,
know? So.
Yeah, but the director would have to be involved somehow, or casting, to get them all in there. I can't imagine Bruce Campbell had the clout yet to be like, hey, get this goofball in here with me too. He's directed me a couple times,
Well, I know Ted did.
Well, maybe. I'm
pretty sure Ted did more work with Larry Cohen too. He did a lot of work with those kind of famous lower budget directors. So
that's true.
Knows? At this point, it's just speculation.
Yeah.
But Ted Raimi is
and by
pretty
that
awesome.
You mean that we didn't look into it.
No, exactly. I was really okay. Spoilers. All of these are going to have spoilers. You have to spoil this one to talk about the next one and the one after that, right?
I spoil the hell out of it too, so.
I really did not like Tom Adkins' death. I didn't think that was necessary. I think, honestly, it would have been better if just Bruce Campbell's character was part of Tom Adkins' character and not two separate characters.
Yeah, it was a great stunt, but like I said, Tom Atkins got done dirty in this movie.
Mm-hmm. And when you have a really powerful antagonist, like even just physically powerful with presence, you need an equally strong protagonist, and they killed that one halfway through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. Is there any background that you know about that, or is that just how it was written?
I have no idea. I assume it's just how it was written.
Yeah.
It was very surprising. And it was shocking. Yeah. I'll give it that. Like, I wasn't expecting it.
Maybe that was the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
Who knows? What did you think of the artsy nude shower prison scene that we end up seeing recycled for part 2 and part 3?
Yeah, I'm okay with seeing dudes' butts. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is it the same scene all 3 times? Because I thought that
it was the same one in part 2. I think they changed it in part 3.
Okay. See, I thought like, part 1 didn't stick with me very well.
Mm-hmm.
So it in my head, I don't remember the actors who cut him up in 1 being the same actors that cut him up in 2 that he eventually kills, but we'll get to that in mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume that they changed that just because they actually had to kill them off in 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong. It could be the same scene. It's definitely filtered the same. The lighting's the same.
Yeah.
So if it's, you know what, it's probably the same because there's no way they had the budget to recreate the exact same setup in another movie, let alone 2.
What did you think about the music in this movie?
It was very Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I was thinking more Puppet Master, actually.
I don't remember the Puppet Master music much. I just remember a lot of orchestral hits, for lack of a better term, when people were getting thrown around and stuff. And that was a very Friday the 13th thing. I see a lot of Friday the 13th in these movies. So I could just be projecting.
You know, it's funny. I'm looking at this next note I have, and I say very much a Friday the 13th thing with this franchise. Did Maniac Cop die in that prison stabbing, or was he only officially dead after part 1? Because he was definitely a zombie by part 3. So,
yeah, definitely.
Were they retconning?
No, I think he was dead, because didn't they talk about him being cold even in the first one?
Yeah, but then they went back to that, prison doctor, and I think he was like, no, he actually wasn't dead, or he pretended he was dead or something. And that the girl, took him home or something like that he wasn't really dead, that they had lied.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he was dead.
Yeah. Well,
I think he just didn't understand what he was yet.
Controversial opinion. I don't really think Jason was dead until part 4.
Is that controversial? I thought that was just, accepted.
Well, it's been retconned multiple times that he was actually dead by the end of part 2, but...
I don't consider him dead until Tommy kills him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah, I've always...
And then, does that weird Michael Jackson number, which to this day I don't understand why they put that in that movie.
Well, that's, you got it. That's in Corey Feldman's contract.
Yeah, but I just think it would have been more effective if, the camera had just zoomed in on his sad face as he hugged his sister. But no, he moonwalked.
It was extra disturbing with that half bald head.
Now, I do have a note about Robert Zadar's facial structure in this, and that was a genetic condition. But it kind of added to a lot of his, tough guy roles. It made him stand out. You never forget that guy's face once you see him the first time.
It is why he was an actor. He would not have been an actor had he not looked so different.
No, he might have done, because he did a lot of stunt work. He worked for stunt companies a lot.
Yeah,
he might have just been closer to just staying in that stunt category, but I don't know. I'm glad we had him.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. Now, Lorraine Landon, who played Teresa, that's the blonde cop in part 1 who got killed in part 2. Would you like to know what she's doing these days?
Sure.
She rescues pit bulls, and she is a rap lyricist. She originally, before she became an actor, she dropped out of police academy because she realized she wouldn't be able to shoot a gun. She prefers psychological horror and isn't a fan of modern slashers. Researching this lady was like going down a rabbit hole. She has such a cool personality. And her character was actually only explicitly written by Larry Cohen to have her in the film.
Huh. She sounds as interesting as Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, actually, I would love to see Linnea Quigley and Lorraine Landon on a panel together.
That would be cool. Oh, imagine how many gross nerds would swarm to that, though.
Oh, yeah, like you. Hooah!
I like to think of myself as a respectful nerd. Like, I don't think I'd be creepy if I met Linnea Quigley. I'd be really awkward.
Video?
What?
How many times have you watched her Exorcist movie?
Which Exorcist
The
movie?
Exorcise one.
Oh, never.
Okay, that's good. All right. I respect you a little more.
Yeah. No, I've never seen that. I've seen Night of the Demons, Return of the Living Dead. Both of those, I can't count how many times I've seen those. I've seen Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers way more than most people. Mm-hmm. I've probably seen Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama a respectable amount of times.
Oh, Don't Go Into the Park is terrible, and that was her first movie.
I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen any of those weird cop movies she's done either. I have a whole list of Linnea Quigley movies I need to watch eventually.
So back to Robert Z'Dar, who played the Maniac Cop. He was someone who everyone who worked with him seemed to really like. He enjoyed whatever he was in. He gave it his all. And as, I said earlier, just watching Samurai Cop and tell me he's not just a great low-budget baddie. He found his niche,
Yeah, he's hella better than the main character in that movie.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, my God.
He was in Tango and Cash, too.
He was, yeah. You can't forget that. Yes, he was. That hissing, bad guy voice he did in that movie. So dramatic. That whole movie was dramatic. I love that movie.
I do, too.
Now, this was only 2 years after Night of the Creeps, but Tom Atkins looked a lot older, didn't he?
I don't know if he looked a lot older or if he just wasn't as into this movie. You know what I mean? Night of the Creeps, he definitely said was one of his favorite movies. I think he said it was his favorite movie to be in. And this just, it felt like he wasn't into it. He just wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean? And maybe it was because he knew that he was going to get killed off, or maybe because it was a shitty experience. I don't know.
Well, if they hadn't killed him off, it would have been closer to a noir style film, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it was a bad move.
I always expect noir, at least noir elements when I see him in a movie too. And I just got off watching True Detective Season 3, so I'm noir is on my brain.
Yeah, and it's a real shame that, New York City got so cleaned up because it made for great atmosphere, even in a low-budget movie like Maniac Cop.
True. And boy, did they really lean heavily on the New York part of things. I've got a little bit on that when we get to my movie, but...
And you know what? Say what you will about this film, but the fight choreography was fantastic.
Oh, the fighting, the stunts was all really, really well done. It's just too bad everything else sucked.
Robert Z'Dar did all of his own stunts. Except for the fire bits.
I was just going to ask, did he do the burns? Because the Maniac Cop is quite flammable.
Yeah, everything except that. The being lit on fire, which I can easily understand why he wouldn't do that part. But all the other stunts, he did them himself.
Well, the guy who played, Leo Rossi, I think? Mm-hmm. The guy who played the sleazy serial killer in my movie.
Yes, I love him.
He was convinced to set his arm on fire, so he did his own fire stunt and caught his beard on fire a little bit. So, don't set your actors on fire.
Yeah. Well, maybe, set them afire with passion, but... And I mean passion for acting, not sex. That's inappropriate.
Right. Of course.
I was reading that the collector's edition actually has an alternate ending where Maniac Cop stabs the mayor to death.
Would that? Yeah, that would still. I thought that would negate part 2, but it was the commissioner in part 2. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, but Cohen didn't even really initially plan for a sequel, but he believed any monster movie can be set up for it, so he wasn't really worried whether one would or wouldn't happen.
He set it up really well, whether he meant to or not.
Well, it was a field.
He did everything right.
It was a field he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. He set up Maniac Cop 3 better than he set up Maniac Cop 2. Mm-hmm. Again, it was a very Friday the 13th thing to do, but it was pretty excellent.
But you know what? I'm okay with that in sequels, because it's the law of sequels is that 3 is either going to be the best one or the cheesiest one, and I think they accomplished that.
I do too. Well, I don't think 3 was the best. I liked it. I prefer 2 out of all.
Well, no, I was saying the cheesiest. I said best or cheesiest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess 3 would be the cheesiest, but we'll get to 3.
Do you have any other notes about part 1?
I don't think so. Like, it was, for what it was pretty sparse, cookie cutter Maniac Cop killing stuff in New York movie. It's really not until 2 that we really get into the meat of things.
Yeah. I mean, 2 is really action-packed. It's... everything about 2 is so much better. It's like it came into its own, like you said.
Yeah.
And you know the best thing about part 2?
What's that?
The absolute best thing about part 2 was the rap at the end.
Which I plan to read in... I'm going to read the entire...
No. This isn't the rap from Maniac Cop 2. This is our own Maniac Cop song.
No, I know, but I'm also going to do a spoken word rap.
Ah, okay. I was thinking we were going to do this like hair metal.
Yeah, see, I was thinking about that, and we've got 2 problems here. Well, 1 problem and 1 observation. The first problem is to do like good rock and roll hair metals, like, oh, you suckers with a taste for speed, better keep an eye out. Like, you can do that, but you need guitars and bass.
Well, don't worry. I've got you covered.
What? Put that down. You know how I feel about that thing. So that's problem number 1. Like, you're asking me to a cappella something that requires a full band.
Well, what if I did this?
I mean, we can try. But what I was thinking, since we've got the sleazy serial killer's brief country ode to the Maniac Cop, I felt maybe we could give this a shot in sort of a old country kind of twangy.
Let's go for it.
All right. So I didn't practice this or even really like consider how to do it at all.
Well, you're the one who wrote this.
That's not true. You're forcing me to do this, and it's really funny, and I want you to leave this in too. I want people to feel my pain. So you don't know this because I didn't tell you this yet, but all week Angie and her friend, I think Michelle at work, have been listening to our shows, and Michelle really liked the Christmas song and really likes that you force me to sing sometimes, to the point where she's saying I can't have my ticket to Drag Queen Bingo next week unless I sing for it. So at least 2 people are enjoying. I don't know if they're enjoying the song or if they're enjoying me making a fool out of myself. Regardless, at least I'm bringing joy to people's lives.
I gotta say, though, the way you sang that opening line was fantastic.
I mean, it's up to you. I can try to do the rest that way, or we can try it. Let's try both and see. Yeah. All right. So we got 2 lines out of the hair metal part. We'll try some twangy country. All you suckers with the taste for speed, better keep an eye out. Gonna make you burn, maniac. Well, no, it's not working. I'm not feeling your, I am not a musician, even though I make music.
I was kind of listening to AC/DC when I wrote this.
I can hear that. So yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that country is going to work.
No.
All you suckers with the taste for speed, you better keep an eye out because you're going to make you burn. He's a maniac cop. Maniac Cop. I'm not just evil, just ignore my gray skin. It kind of works, but yeah. I think you're right. And you're going to make me do bad acapella hair metal. You're such a jerk.
I think the song requires it.
Let's try this. Jesus Christ.
Hold on, let me
what we do for listeners.
Mostly you.
Yeah. Oh, you suckers for a take with shit. I need to get this done in 1 take because I'm embarrassing myself doing this. Oh, you suckers with a taste for speed, better keep an eye out. Gonna make it burn. Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop. I'm not evil, just ignore my gray skin. Back from the dead to rock my nightstick again. Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop. Don't blame me for walking my beat. Gonna grab you and bang, better kick up those feet. Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop. All you suckers with a taste for speed, better keep an eye out, gonna make you burn. Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop. Maniac Cop.
That vibrato at the end was just perfect.
You're welcome.
This is the worst thing you've made me do so far. And that is not a challenge.
I kind of think it was the best thing.
I mean, from your point of view.
That was beautiful, Corey, and it got us really ready for the sequel where things just get, like, pumped up to the next adrenaline rush level.
Everything is ramped up, and I hope that I am doing it justice. All right, so we pick up immediately after the first one. In fact, they do the... Oh, shit, trailer, that's right. I love that Billy Club flip thing.
Yeah. Did some fun stuff.
My favorite part about the end of it, too. Yeah.
Maniac Cop! Maniac Cop!
Why was this up Maniac Cop?
I'm not going to want to pick up the phone and dial 911.
Oh.
We're looking at a bloodbath here.
That was a cool stunt.
Uh-huh. There's just some great shots of him in there.
That stunt was a dude falls out a window, bounces off a car, and lands on the concrete, guys. It's amazing.
You know that blind newspaperman is James Earl Jones' brother.
I didn't know that.
What'd you see?
From I saw Matt Cordell.
He had a reason for coming here. He's got a reason for everything he does.
Did you ever see anything so nasty?
What else can it be that you'll see?
Oh, that guy was so gross.
Oh, that fire was just done so well.
Mm-hmm.
My friend is back!
My friend! Oh my god, Corey, it's you.
We're getting stronger. We got ourselves a leader.
Oh, I'm the creepy stripper killer?
Yes.
You murdered him.
Thanks.
You're pushing me too far.
Oh, the bus stunt.
Maniac Cop 2. You'll be screaming blue murder.
Oh, that's a weird tagline.
You'll be screaming blue murder.
Like, you'll be screaming blue murder? Or
Is that just screaming sad murder? Like, oh, you're stabbing me.
Oh, well. Why do I even bother?
This is the last day of my life. All right. So we pick up right after the first one. In fact, they do that whole let's catch everyone up and show the end of the last movie thing. They do this in both of these. They do this in 2 and in 3, which I'm okay with. That's another thing that comes directly from Friday the 13th and probably a million other movies before. It works. I'm cool with it.
You really notice it with Friday the 13th, though.
Yeah, for sure. You know what happens. Maniac Cop drives off a pier.
Well, actually, we didn't stress that happened, but that does happen.
Well, yeah, that's what happened. So they all think he's dead and they couldn't find his body, and that's sort of a problem in this one. We open then on a convenience store with 2 different stereotypes of Mexicans. We've got the cashier, who is very, very off the boat Mexican, like very, very, very typical.
He's Cheech Marin.
Yeah, he's essentially Cheech Marin, yeah. And then you've got the other side, you've got this sort of junky criminal with a little more of the whole gang Mexican stereotype going on. Did you notice by chance that the cashier in this scene is drinking Yoo-Hoo?
You know what? I did notice that. Was that product placement?
I don't know, but who drinks Yoo-Hoo? Like, it's just chocolate water.
It's really good. Sir, I don't drink it anymore because carbs.
Chocolate water. Yeah,
it's
I'm not.
a little different than chocolate water. There's a distinct flavor to Yoo-Hoo.
Yeah, it's chocolate and water.
Listeners, what do you think your favorite slasher character's flavor of Yoo-Hoo would be?
Tweet us.
There we go. Social media.
Hallow-Holics at Nowhere 23. So this scene does a really great thing where the guy comes in and the cashier presses the silent alarm and he's like, when does the boss come in to open the safe? And the cashier's like 6 a.m. So he's like, I can wait. So this is already the worst crime ever. And so the cashier's like, okay, wait, that's fine. What should we do? And he's like, you got any lottery tickets? Let's scratch off lottery tickets. So the robber is threatening the cashier while he's frantically scratching all these lottery tickets, and they actually win. They get a $5,000 winner just as the Maniac Cop comes in and goes maniac on them. Kills the cashier with a shotgun, like a little cut-off shotgun. It was actually a cut-off carriage gun, which would have been 12 gauge. I believe that would have been called a mare's leg. No, that's not a mare's leg. That would be no, not a boomstick. It would be pig knuckle. That's what it is. They use it in Near Dark. That's what a pig knuckle is.
Which is kind of funny because Maniac Cop was in a French film festival against Near Dark, and Near Dark won Best Picture.
Better have. So yeah, Maniac Cop then hands the shotgun to the robber and disappears. The robber runs outside. The cops are here. He gets this great line. It's something like, "It's not me. It was one of you." And he points with a shotgun and gets killed. And that's the end of that. And then we come back to Officer Teresa and Officer Bruce Campbell from the first film. And they're trying to convince the commissioner that Cordell is not dead. They don't think Cordell died in this car accident off the pier. We know as audience goers and not morons that, of course, Cordell is still alive. Mm-hmm. The commissioner's not buying it. He sends them both to a shrink, Dr. Susan Riley, who is also one of our new main characters. She's also a cop, apparently, but mostly a shrink. What is our new male...
Robert Davi, who
that's right.
His
Robert
character's
Davi.
name is
McKinney, Detective McKinney.
He did a great job. He was really
good. Apparently, there was some on-set tension between him and Claudia Christian, who played Susan Riley. Oh. I don't know much about it, but I don't think that they got along super great.
Oh, that's a shame.
So Officer Bruce Campbell and Officer Teresa end up meeting or going out for coffee with this shrink because they're early. And I guess that's what you do in New York because you have to have coffee in New York. There's a whole lot of very stereotypical New York stuff all through this movie. I have a little list later. They get into an argument. Officer Teresa storms off because that's her thing. And Officer Bruce Campbell sticks around, but it doesn't even matter. He's in the movie for 3 minutes and then he gets killed off. That's about the extent of his involvement in this film. He gets 3 minutes of screen time and then he's dead, which is okay. I like that. I like when movies aren't afraid to pass the torch by straight murdering, by again, doing the Friday the 13th thing, murdering the protagonists from the last film. And that's what they did here. And I think it works really well, especially considering.
Or Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Or yeah. That's a good one too. But before all this happens, we meet our new male lead, Detective McKinney, played by Robert Davi. He's busy not murdering this suspect because there's too much paperwork involved, because he's the typical tough guy cop that drinks too much.
He's a gumshoe.
Yeah, he's kind of like me, if you think about it, except I'm not a tough guy or a cop.
But you do fall out of buildings and bounce off of trucks a lot.
I drink too much. I'm reaching out for help here, Maddie. So he, too, because of his shooting, is sent to the Dr. Cop about his – and they talk about his dead partner, and then he storms off. His partner killed himself for some reason, and the doctor knows that somebody told him not to come see her. Wonder if there'll be more on that later. Yeah. So Officer Teresa is a suspect in Bruce Campbell's murder. She storms off again from the morgue this time because that's, again, what she does.
She's a stormer.
She is very much a stormer. She's not really a suspect, though. McKinney is apparently under orders from the commissioner because the commissioner was involved in this whole falsely imprisoning, getting Cordell murdered thing. Mm-hmm. So McKinney is under orders to treat her like one, to keep her from going to the press about Cordell. It's a really dumb plan that I don't really understand. I don't know how you win this plan.
This movie isn't about plot.
No, the plot's a lot better and it's a lot more logical in this one, but it's still a little messy. So McKinney hates shrinks because one made his wife leave. This is another weird thing I had. He's talking about my wife went to see a shrink. And then she's my ex-wife. Like, it's just this other dumb thing. And it turns out he's the one that told his partner not to go see the shrink, and he doesn't feel bad about it. And she's like, yeah, that's because you're a cop. There's some real weird lines between those two. And then a rich guy's car gets towed by a cop. This is another thing I like about this movie. So this rich guy's car gets towed. And Cordell doesn't kill him because Cordell's motives make sense in this one. Cordell's killing the people who wronged him and cops.
Well, and also cashiers.
Oh, and cashiers.
Maybe Cordell's just a little racist. Maybe that's why he killed him.
It could be. It could be. It definitely could be. So this guy gets killed in a pretty cool... I mean, most of his kill is off screen, but he's a tow truck driving cop, which I didn't know was a thing. But he gets killed mostly off screen, and then you see the hoist for the tow truck lifting up, and it's got the cop hooked to it, and the Maniac Cop drives away. It's pretty great. And now we're at the point where the Dr. Cop is trying to investigate Bruce Campbell's death, because after one session, you care that much, apparently, to be a real cop instead of a Dr. Cop. So we get this war story because there's James Earl Jones's brother plays Robert Earl Jones plays a blind newspaper dealer. Probably not how you put that.
Vendor.
That makes more sense.
Hey guys, I got the latest news.
And he tells this, yo, you want some of this Monday morning paper? So we get a war story about how he was blinded with a grenade and he had to sleep under all the corpses that the grenade killed to stay warm. We get that whole story just to find out that Cordell's hand is cold because he's dead.
To be fair, though, great dramatic delivery.
Yeah, he did great. Yeah, you're right. McKinney starts to believe Cordell is the Maniac Cop, but nobody else does. The doctor is also starting to believe. And I think actually that is why when she talks to the newspaper guy, she's starting to get it. Officer Teresa then invites her to go on TV to talk about an undead cop terrorizing the city. This doesn't go well. Long story short, the stereotypical cab driver is dead because they take a cab. It doesn't go well.
And the cab driver does not listen to her.
No, the cat, because she's a woman. This movie's a little bit, it's not only stereotypical, but it's a bit sexist as well. Teresa gets a chainsaw, doesn't kill Cordell with it, and then she gets her neck broken and storms off for the final time into the afterlife.
Oh, God. Are you proud of yourself?
I am very proud of myself.
How long have you been holding that one back?
Since I wrote it yesterday. And Dr. Susan is handcuffed to the steering wheel of a moving car. And again, I've got to say, like, they actually handcuffed someone to a speeding car down a street. It was crazy, and it was really well done and a really exciting scene, and I loved it. She then takes an ambulance to the hospital, has a broken arm, and manages to get to the TV show in time. Sounds completely crazy. Even though, obviously, she's right, because we know that, but nobody else does. The commissioner's there, too, denying everything.
Deny.
Yeah. During this television scene, we meet the most disgusting man in the trilogy.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Ugh. He's a serial killer that hunts strippers, and he thinks he speaks for Cordell. It's pretty obvious that Cordell is getting revenge for being falsely imprisoned and cut up. He's doing this by killing the cops and those responsible, obviously. But this dude thinks he wants to raise an army of escaped death row criminals, I assume to cause havoc all across the city. They don't really say what this army would be for. But the plan is eventually to go to Sing Sing. I want to take a brief sidebar here to mention the most interesting piece of trivia. Like, this movie's got some boring trivia. The only two interesting pieces were that Davy and Christian didn't really get along, and that this was originally supposed to tie into Maniac.
Really? Okay,
yeah, the guy who played the sleazy stripper killer.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be played by what's his name?
Oh gosh, the original actor from Maniac.
Joe Spinelli.
Oh, I love that guy. You know, I was just watching Rocky yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. But yeah, Joe Spinelli died before filming started here. This movie was dedicated to him, and he was supposed to play that role in this movie, which would have added like an extra level to make this awesome.
I still think that Leo Rossi did a really good job.
Oh, he was great in it. Don't get me wrong, but I just would have loved to see the share universe with Maniac. It fits perfectly too.
Well, even just in the scene where he's introduced and he's in that strip club and he's watching the stripper, gives her the money and everything. The silence, the way he watches her.
Yeah,
it's so intelligently shot. You know,
it's really great.
And he seems super smart until he opens his mouth.
And even then, like, he just reeks of somebody who is just out of his league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just the kind of guy who's making all these assumptions based on ego.
Yeah. Like, pretty much everyone kind of projects what they think Cordell is thinking, but him more than anyone else.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I also love the moment when Cordell gives him his name.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I didn't expect that either. I wasn't expecting him to answer. And I wondered, do you think that flashback scene, do you think that was Cordell sitting there like, I was in prison and all these guys cut me up real bad and I got hurt. Like, do you think that's why, like, do you think that's how he was talking and we got a flashback, but the sleazy stripper killer had to like sit through that? I really had a bad time in prison.
I didn't have many friends.
They treated me poorly because I'm a cop.
And because of my facial structure. Some people make fun of me, especially podcasters.
So yeah, I assume that happens during that sleepover. And that's what it was. It was a sleepover. They like compared knives and like totally broed out as much as an undead cop and a disgusting serial killer can bro out.
But in all seriousness, though, when he said that, when he just said his name, it looked like there was so much pain. You know?
Yeah, it was really well played. And that was his only line in the whole movie. So like I said, everything in this movie is so stereotypically New York back in the day. Everyone is a caricature of a New York type. Everyone is like sleazy, like wearing their like brown leather jackets, or they're like tough guys, or both. Everyone speaks like they're from Brooklyn, and like they even do that thing where like the stripper that almost gets killed by the sleazy stripper killer, like she calls her, like we see her on the phone with her mom, which I have a problem with as well.
Well,
and she's just trying to make more. Yeah, it does. But she's just like, but that's such a like, I moved to New York to do one thing and now I'm a stripper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but she's given 1 minute of character development screen time. That's the easiest way to do it.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's just when you pile it onto all the other characters and stereotypes, it's a little bit annoying. But I also have a problem with that scene because when she's almost murdered by Sleazy Dude, she tries to call the cops by dialing the front desk. This is 1988. Could you not just dial that directly from a hotel room, even if it wasn't like, even if you didn't have a direct line? Plus, how would the dude be totally okay giving her a long distance line out to her mom?
Yeah.
But not a line out to the cop. Like, he's mumbling stuff about, oh, your chosen career, blah, blah, blah. So it's okay to talk to her mom, but you can't call the cops?
Yeah, that's weird. Because I'm pretty sure there was no charge for 911.
Oh, there wasn't.
Yeah.
I just don't think, and this happens in 3 a lot, I don't think this movie understands how inanimate objects work. Like the paddles in Maniac Cop 3, that's not what they do. The phones didn't work that way. This happened in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is one of the radio station. Was that 2?
Yes.
The one with Dennis Hopper?
The best one.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there was, in no world could you ever not just hang up on somebody calling you. Like, you know what I mean? She was like, you have to hang up the phone now. I can't disconnect you. That's not a thing. I don't think it's a thing.
Actually,
guys, if that's a thing, let me know.
No, I do remember having issues on landlines sometimes where it wouldn't completely disconnect the line if both parties didn't hang up.
Yeah, I don't
It
know.
wasn't
That was
common, but I do remember that being a problem a few times.
Yeah, I don't. I'm older than you, so I win. But the technology was better, so you'd think there'd be even less of that nonsense. I do know occasionally that wireless phones would pick up my neighbor, which was weird because my neighbor was a weirdo. Put my head through a wall, but that's a story for another time. So Sleazy Guy believes this. So you remember earlier how I mentioned they were raising an army?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Sleazy Guy believes this because him and the Maniac Cop had their little sleepover. He's very wrong. I'm not sure though, like, he might not be totally wrong, but we'll get to that when we get to the prison scene, but he's mostly wrong, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The cops catch up to Sleazy Guy and he's arrested, and he apparently goes to jail, to like a specific jail for really good character actors. Cause you've got in there, you've got the dude from Tales from the Hood, and you've got Danny Trejo, and I even think the guy in the back on the bench that you don't really see much, the throwaway guy, I think he was someone as well. Cordell then maniacs out and kills everyone in jail, which is a really cool scene because he starts out in the firing range. Like, all the cops are just shooting at their targets, and then all of a sudden, one by one, you just see them getting shot in the head, and out comes the Maniac Cop. So he frees Sleazy, he frees some rando that he kills off pretty quickly for not doing what he wants, and he frees the guy from Tales from the Hood. But not Danny Trejo, he's just gone. Like, you don't know if he's dead or what, he's just gone.
Ugh,
I think Danny
Trejo.
Yeah. He just moseyed on out. He was free.
He shrugged, looked at them, walks away. And
then off the three go on an adventure to free everyone on death row in Sing Sing prison, because like I said, they need an army. Oh, and the doctor cop is now a hostage. They took her with them in a stolen prison transport bus that is everything's so flammable in this movie.
I know.
Every time they bump into a car, it explodes.
That's because they stopped making stuff with asbestos.
Oh, yeah, good point. So yeah, they get to the prison, and this doesn't go very well because, again, everyone in this movie is very flammable. Mm-hmm. Cordell stops maniacking after the commissioner confesses to screwing him over. I mean, he sort of stops maniacking. He gets set on fire and kills everybody involved in cutting him up by throwing them and catching them on fire because he's on fire and really strong.
And then, of course, Stephen Turkel realizes that he was wrong, and his line, you weren't really my friend. You just used me.
Yeah. I mean, a serial killer meets another killer. Like, that's a rare occurrence. Like, you don't get Henry Lee Lucas's and Otis O'Toole's every day. Mm-hmm. So I kind of understand how he felt. But yeah, he sets his sleepover friend on fire.
Have you not found your other, like, soulmate in serial
Not
killer?
yet. I mean, it might be you. Who knows? So yeah, sleazy stripper killer says all that stuff, and then Cordell grabs him, sets him on fire, and jumps through a wall with him. The end? Or is it? Probably not, because this is the second one in the trilogy. Mm-hmm. The movie ends at Cordell's funeral, where McKinney hears him flipping his billy club around and explains that there's a little bit of Maniac Cop in all of us.
Actually, it's a pretty good speech.
It is a pretty good speech, but I really wanted to say it that way.
He basically talks about how we're all kind of tempted to pull that trigger, and it would be a lot easier, but...
Mm-hmm. But that's also the strings holding humanity together. Mm-hmm. But then, when everybody's gone, Cordell's maniac hand smashes through his coffin and grabs his badge.
Which is a fun, humorous little twist.
It is. But it's done to this poem that I will read to you now. One fine day, in the middle of the night, two dead boys got up to fight. Back to back they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other. One was blind and the other couldn't see. So they chose a dummy for a referee. A blind man went to see a fair play. A dumb man went to shout hooray. A paralyzed donkey passing by kicked the blind man in the eye, knocked him through a 9-inch wall into a dry ditch and drowned them all. A deaf policeman heard the noise and came to arrest these two dead boys. If you don't believe this story's true, ask the blind man. He saw it too. Now, they only used a chunk of this and made it a lot creepier, but I wanted to read it all and ruin it.
Yeah, they stopped at they cut out everything and just went to the cops saw them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They did like the beginning and the end.
You know, you started talking about the poem and I really thought you were going to go into the Maniac Cop rap.
Well, like I was about to say, there is also a Maniac Cop rap that I would also like to read to you. Yeshua Barnes and Brian B. Dub Woods, Maniac Cop rap. Yo, wait a minute. What's that? Something sneaking round the corner. Here he come. I think it's that maniac. Hold on. Ah! Rah! And then we continue into the rap. You better watch out when you hear that sound. That means that Maniac Cop's around. Once upon a time, he was a super cop, but the bad guy framed him to make him stop. They put him in prison, where they tried to kill him, but he broke out. Now he's the villain. Bullets don't hurt him. I know it should sound like jive, but we're not sure if he's dead or alive. Set him on fire, I shoot him with an Uzi, but he'll show up in your jacuzzi. You can run him over, you can feed him poison, push him out of a window, and it only annoys him. I like how they did poison annoys him.
Mm-hmm.
You better believe me if you think I'm lying. When he show up, people start dying. He's out for vengeance, and he can't be stopped. That's why they call him the Maniac Cop. There's another verse. Mm-hmm. It's long, so we're not going to do this.
You know what? It needed more Maniac Cop chorus.
I agree.
Yeah.
There is you won't get a ticket or pay you won't get a ticket or pay a fine. You might as well be dealing with Frankenstein.
Nice.
And here, this is a little sad. He's big and ugly with a busted jaw. Oh, they're mocking him.
Well, no, he was slashed open on his face.
But his jaw's busted, like his grill. His grill's busted.
Well, yeah, because they slashed his face.
Okay, you go ahead and believe that. I think they were making fun of the poor man's looks.
Well, Maniac Cop didn't look too good.
That was performed by Corey.
Thank you.
Selections of the Maniac Cop rap.
Now,
you're welcome.
One more time, can I just get you to do the chorus from the song I wrote earlier?
Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop.
I think you actually enjoy that.
I'm getting there. It's been stuck in my head, this whole thing. So I'm doing that thing where I goof on a movie, but I actually really like it. Mm-hmm. I do that with everything. I think parts 2 and 3 are super good. They remind me a lot of kind of an urban Friday the 13th, which I mentioned. The characters are still all kind of cookie cutter and relatively boring, but the movie itself improves on the first in every way, especially by actually making sense and being somewhat logical, except for that cashier and that Yoo-hoo. That's not...
Dude, when was the last time you had a Yoo-hoo? There's a distinct, wonderful flavor. Okay, try it again and just focus on the flavor. Don't think about what's in it. Just enjoy it. A Yoo-hoo has... It's incomparable. You can't compare regular chocolate and water to Yoo-hoo.
I could make... If I had chocolate and water right now, I could make Yoo-hoo.
That would be chocolate and what? That would be hot cocoa cold.
It would be Yoo-hoo.
No, Yoo-hoo is not... Do I have to look up the ingredients in Yoo-hoo right now?
I mean, it's just going to say chocolate and water and riboflavin or something.
And electrolytes.
Hey, guys.
No, that's...
How was that?
Stroking out?
Oh, I just need to get my head on straight. Welcome to the second half or third or fourth of our episode. We recorded in 2 nights because Maddie got tired. She's kind of a sissy like that.
And you weren't exhausted either.
No, it was all you. You're the one that called it.
You know, me. I do have the recording.
Valid point. But in that case, I think you actually do have me saying you're the one that... So I win. Anyway, yeah, so if it sounds different, that's why. It's also raining here, so I'm not peeing the entire episode. I'm just recording in front of a window with a gutter above it that leaks.
Yeah, he's only peeing part of the episode.
Yeah, like only now and maybe in 10 minutes.
But most of it, trust us, is rain.
Right, most of it. Or pee.
Let's go with rain.
All right, so you're ready to get into this Maniac Kate?
Yes. Maniac Kate and Cop. A match made in hell?
Dun, dun.
When the violent...
This filthy creep's gonna make us rich.
Can't be
That's
controlled.
like, does that guy look like Danny Bonaducci or somebody like that?
The criminal?
Can't be
Yeah.
caught.
That's Reese Davies, who played Freddy Krueger in the remake.
Lawless
Who?
can't
Not
be
Reese Davies.
stopped.
I don't remember his name.
The
at moment.
only hope
I'll
left.
look at my notes later.
Symbol.
Jonathan Rice Davies? Gimli?
Symbol of anti.
Is that his name?
Is a cop
No, that's the guy who played Gimli in Lord of the Rings.
No,
who's
dang,
ready
what's
to
his name?
raise a little
Danny
hell.
Bonaducci.
No.
I need your very special kind, Doc.
Oh, revisiting this trailer reminds me how nonsensical this one is, but how good it is.
This was after Candyman, right?
More powerful than
I think so. This was 93.
lasting than death. He has returned.
Well, it was filmed in 93. It probably
As
took
judge,
place in 89.
jury, and executioner
Oh my god.
I know what I saw.
to enforce the law
Where is he? You'll find him.
with a vengeance. But now,
Oh, yeah, I forgot almost Scott Valentine was in this.
to end the massacre,
If Scott Valentine was in this, there was no way the Maniac Cop would be able to beat him.
the madness.
Oh, for sure.
Finish it.
That line was stupid. They really should have
Yeah. Oh, there he goes again, being super flammable.
Badge of silence. The Maniac Cop is back.
All right, so this
Wait,
one makes
hold
like...
on, real quick,
Oh, sorry.
so I don't forget what his, like, to look at his name real quick. That actor who plays the bad guy or the cokehead in this movie is Jackie Earl Haley. That's his name.
Oh, that's the dude from Watchmen and Freddy Krueger in that movie nobody liked.
Yeah, and that one really brief revival of Dark Shadows that was decent, but
And he was in Preacher.
he's been in a lot of stuff.
All right.
Yeah, he used to be a
he's
pretty
actually
boy.
really good. So yeah, this is probably the most nonsensical plot-wise of the three, but also one of the more enjoyable. Like, I think 2 is my favorite, but this one's a close second.
This
It just, like...
Yeah, this one has the best tagline.
What was the tagline?
The wrong arm of the law is back.
Oh, yeah, it's right in front of me now. So, okay, so a voodoo priest, it's not voodoo, it's some offshoot of Santeria, which is an offshoot of voodoo. It's very complicated. He resurrects Cordell for some reason, and then
to
Cordell wants a
cleanse the
wife.
streets of criminals because no one else can fight them but the Maniac Cop.
Well, I mean, we now that we're in the future, since this movie was done in 93 or whatever, that's not true. It just gentrification is our Maniac Cop. That's what cleans up the streets, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
New York sucks now because all the crime's gone.
What's funny is because most of this was actually filmed in L.A. Because New York wasn't as dirty anymore.
That, I hear, is
Yeah.
the New York of the West.
Well, they used the church from Prince of Darkness.
Oh, my favorite church.
Are we ranking them now?
No, just that one. It's because I love Prince of Darkness.
It's a good movie.
All right, so the voodoo guy wants to clean up the streets, and then Maniac Cop wants a wife? Is that like...
Okay, so, like, the Maniac Cop did not want to come back from the dead. He was pretty pissed off about it because the voodoo priest did point out at one point that resurrection is more painful than death itself or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, but he also pointed out, he's like, hey, Maniac Cop, you wouldn't have come back if you didn't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, so...
He sees a kindred spirit in the female cop because she's framed, and I guess she's also super hot, so who knows.
She is kind of cute.
Yeah.
Her name is Maniac Kate, though. No, she's not just a cop. She's Maniac Kate.
I'm pretty sure it's Kate.
No, they call her Maniac Kate.
Well, yeah, because they, like, twist the story on her. But at any rate, you know, he knows she's innocent. And I guess in a way they have a psychic link, whether she wants to have one or not.
They call her, I'm not going to let this go, I'm sorry. They call her Maniac Kate before the pharmacy robbery happens.
Yeah, but that's just because she's Irish.
Oh, fiddly-dee. And other such racial stereotypes of the Irish. I'm drinking whiskey. La-da-dee-dee. This is awful. I'm going to stop now.
It's okay. I'm Irish.
So am I. A little bit. I'm a mutt, though, dude. We did that, one of those genealogy spit test things. Mm-hmm. And you could actually see, like, hey, here's this 8% that was a Viking, and then you can just watch my bloodline drip down until it gets to America. You can just watch this line of chaos my family has caused until today.
Yeah, I did that too, and it was like, you're 70% British and 29% Irish, and then there's this 1% Swedish over here. But mostly your family they stuck with their own.
Oh no, mine's all over the place, and I blame the Vikings. I think they spread that stuff early.
Okay, anyway, back to Maniac Kate.
Yeah, so, Robert, McKinney and her get to talking about how she's a maniac at the thing, mm-hmm. at the shooty range. God, I'm a gun owner. Gun range. Target practice.
I prefer shooting range.
Yeah. And that's when we find out she's Maniac Kate because of her past experiences. And then she is framed by
newspaper reporters.
Yeah, like the sleaziest, grossest news report. Well, they're not the worst. Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler is the worst.
Yeah. So
these guys are a close second, though.
So Jackie Earle Haley is this sleazy, coked up, like, robber who basically she has to shoot, and then you find out that the hostage he was keeping wasn't really a hostage, and she had buzzed him in because you have to be buzzed into gas station offices, I guess. I'm not sure.
I thought it was a pharmacy. Because that's where
it was a pharmacy.
Where he's getting all those pills.
And then Maniac Kate shoots him because he thinks she's going to shoot the hostage.
Maniac Kate!
And she's like, you shot my boyfriend. She was like, oh my God, you buzzed him in. And then she shoots Kate, and Kate shoots her in the head.
She shoots Kate like 14 times, like, before Kate gets a shot off. Maniac Kate my ass.
And the reporters are basically like, this isn't a good enough story. We could get more views by lying and saying she just shot this innocent victim. But it's like, in what world is, like, a double homicide not, like... In what world is that a more interesting story than a hostage turning the table on the cop?
For sure. Also, the worst cop on Law and Order... Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm not talking SVU, I'm not talking the good one, I'm talking old school Law and Order. The worst, like, beat cop on the original Law and Order could have figured out how this went down. Yeah. Like, you've got two bodies, you've got the pharmacist holding a gun, like, they didn't go in there and, like, change the scene around, they just took part of the tape out and didn't even get rid of the tape.
And it's not like if you didn't talk to people they knew that you wouldn't have evidence that those two were a couple.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Wait, you mean the cameramen? You think they were dating?
No. I was gonna say the hostage and the Jackie Earle Haley cokehead, but okay. Yeah, they were probably dating. They definitely had this fiery dynamic going on when they were driving the streets together all night looking for a lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not Scott Valentine was definitely way more upset than he should have been at a coworker being murdered in the back of an ambulance.
God, I hated these guys so much. Oh, someone got shot? Was it a kid? Yeah. Oh, how'd you know her? She was my sister. Tough breaks, kid.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But I mean, sometimes that's how you handle a kid, right?
So Voodoo Guy brings Maniac Cop back, brings Cordell back, right? Cordell hears about this whole thing on the news, goes crazy, and he decides he's going to get revenge for her and also marry her through a voodoo ritual.
Oh, I missed all that. I didn't realize that was... I just thought Cordell was doing his thing.
Oh, no, he definitely wants to marry Kate.
Well, I knew he wanted to marry her. I just didn't know that there was more reason other than, like, plot convenience.
He was listening to the whole news report about her.
Huh.
And that's when he, like, freaked out. He was like, rah, and threw the radio or TV or something against the wall.
I must have looked away.
Yeah. There's a wedding dream she has while she's in a coma because she doesn't
That I
die.
remember. Yeah.
And talk about consent issues.
Well, it's all through, like, even consent to die. Like, everybody's just, like, signing her death form, like, as soon as they possibly can. Like, unplug her.
Yeah, even the mom, she's like, it's her time to go. Let's just
Yeah, screw her. Let's just get this done.
Yeah. But I do love the, not so subtle social commentary in this movie about the, media twisting facts.
Oh, yeah. It was pretty heavy-handed in this one.
Yeah. So did you read much about the background issues with this film and what a struggle it was to make?
I read nothing about that.
Okay, I've got a fun story for you.
Cool.
So Robert DeVee actually wasn't originally intended to be in this one. It was going to be a different character entirely. It was actually planned for an African-American lead. But Japanese investors didn't think that would sell in Asia, so rewrites had to be made to bring Detective Sean McKinney back. Now, the main producer, Cohen, and writer was really tough to pin down for rewrites, especially over the phone. In fact, he was notoriously hard to pin down to keep to any schedule that wasn't his own. Mm-hmm. So the other co-producer, Joel Sosan, had to do the rewrites for him. And then the director...
Oh, no, I did read something about that, how it was like the movie was super short and he refused to,
The director, Lustig, was really unhappy with all these changes and the whole stress of the process. So he did, again, 90 minutes, that's the cut he turned in. He left halfway through the production, which is why this movie has been Alan Smithied, and the poor co-producer Joel Sosan had to basically do all the rest of the directing, the rewrites, all of it.
I didn't know this was Alan Smithied, and I'm surprised because it's not good, but it's entertaining.
I've seen far worse movies, Alan Smithied,
for sure.
than this one. Oh, that's so weird. It's starting to storm here now too.
Dun dun dun. And it's stopped here. Yeah. I've given you all my reign through dark magic.
Well, you just never take the name Alan Smithy in vain.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I guess there's like a big like production you have to go through to like Alan Smithy a film. You can't just do it. Mm-hmm. Like you have to like apply for it or something. I'd read at some point.
I think the initial director Lustig really, really hates this movie. Every interview I've seen with him, he's like, "This is unwatchable. It's a piece of crap. Too many people pissing in a pot." Like he goes off on it. So.
Oh, this was directly after Maniac Cop, so technically this was in '89.
No, this is Maniac Cop 3.
Yeah, I know, but it takes place after 2. I just said that wrong.
Ah, yeah. Maniac Cop 2 was 90.
It refers to Rodney King,
yes.
And Kate's hospital chart says 92. Mm-hmm. So this is like, this happens in the first one too. I don't remember where it was, but there was a date in the first one that like puts it in the spring or something like that. And then all of a sudden the sequel is in Christmas time. So I had thought that more time had passed between the two, but really that it hadn't. It was just bad continuity.
Well, they always cover that pretty easily by just throwing in an action scene so you don't stop to think about it too much.
Yeah, true. Lower body count in this one. I think the last one had 33. This one only had 20.
Yeah, and this movie also had more talking than Cordell had ever done before. He said 2 words.
Oh, look at him go.
Instead of just his name, he said, "Finish it," which was really dumb.
It was super dumb.
Yeah. Now, having him say his name in part 2 worked, but a whole different thing there.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's Frankenstein's creation fashioned from corruption and perverted justice instead of just one mad scientist. And I mean, there is a voodoo priest involved, but he shouldn't talk. Cordell should never talk.
No. I mean, this is Bride of Frankenstein.
It is, really.
Bride of Frankenstein if the bride was just an utter failure instead of this poor, terrified, dead woman.
And less intentionally comedic. But then again, the bride was pretty... Let's talk about consent with the bride. She definitely was not consenting to that marriage.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah. There's not really a lot to say about part 3. It's very simple compared to the other 2.
Mm-hmm. But it's got, again, like, everybody's super flammable. Mm-hmm. Cordell's on fire again. They don't know how things work in this again. Like, somebody gets fried with those heart shocker paddles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can let that stuff slide if it's a good scene, and it was, so.
Yeah, it was. You know what? They were really fond of setting people on fire in this time period. Movies. And I wish we could
Cocaine
go
and
back
fire. Yeah, I agree.
to that. Hey, Booby. Because, Die Hard. I was referencing that there.
Oh,
you probably didn't catch it. It was too clever.
Yeah, it was. I'm too dumb.
I do like the voodoo element, and I like the fact that for some reason, because of the rewrites, McKinney actually knew a little bit about voodoo, possibly because of his experience dealing with Cordell in part 2.
Yeah, he says that too. He's like, I've seen some stuff that made me read up on it. Or something like that, yeah.
It was a silly cover, but it worked. I kind of do wish they had delved more into that voodoo element that they were dragging into this.
I think if they would have delved any further into it, we would have seen the cracks in the facade pretty quickly. That's probably why they didn't. Because it makes no sense that the whole, like, Cordell is at rest thing in 2, but not at rest in 3 thing. Like, I'm pretty sure spirits don't get to pick and choose.
Well, this is the Maniac Cop.
That's true. Maybe the Maniac Cop is allowed. Oh, and I was impressed that Kate dies horribly, in fact. She's brain dead for the entire movie, and then all of a sudden she's set on fire, because everybody gets set on fire in this movie.
She was dead before she was set on fire. She was dead after he pulled her from the machine.
Oh, that's right. The machine was keeping her alive. Well, regardless, she then her corpse gets desecrated by fire. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I thought it was cool that they like introduced this character as a potential main character and this completely like got rid of her for the entire movie.
I don't think she needed to be an active character.
Oh, no, I don't either. But I think most low budget B slasher movies wouldn't be smart enough to do something like this. I thought it was really cool.
I think they should have maybe worked a little bit more on making his obsession with her a little bit clearer. Yeah,
that's true. Because it really wasn't. I mean, because the dream sequence and I guess stuff I missed made it clear, but yeah, not clear enough for me to retain it for the entire film.
Like, even if they could have just implied something like they had known each other at one point, you know? Because it hasn't been that long since Cordell was alive and a normal work-obsessed cop, right?
It's been maybe 3 years since the beginning of this movie, and you don't get a nickname like Maniac Kate in less than 3 years, so they probably met.
Yeah, and the only kind of impression, I guess, that you get that, like, they're psychically linked is that weird dream, but if they were going to go with that, they should have gone more into that. So it was more apparent to the audience, because it was a bit of a stretch.
That's also where the backstory would have helped a little bit. Because you don't just get to be an undead cop and have a psychic connection to some rando just because you share the name Maniac by accident.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heavily padded film, very obviously, but I still enjoyed it.
Me too.
I don't have much else to say about Maniac Cop 3.
Oh, I've got nothing. We're done.
Yeah. Oh, wait, except I love when David lit his cigarette with the dismembered, like, burning arm of Cordell.
Yeah. And the girl in the background just kind of smirks at it.
Yeah. It's like, you people are a little sick.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And this was... Ted Raimi was in 2. There were no Raimis in this one.
I do not think it was a Raimi film.
Yeah, this was a Raimi-less movie.
There were no Raimifications.
I'm not going to grant you a chuckle for that. I'm sorry. So, if you would like to tweet...
Wait, no. If you want to check out our blog...
I'm sorry. I didn't know there was an order, even though we've always done it the same way.
There is always law and order and justice on Hallow-Holics Anonymous.
Ugh.
If you want to check us out on our blog, you can find us at hallowholic.blogspot.com or hallowholic.wordpress.com.
Please feel free to tweet at us at Nowhere23 or search for Hallow-Holics.
You can also email us at hallowholics@outlook.com.
A large man is sawing halfway through my leg as we speak. He's injected me with a paralytical, so I can't feel it, but I know it's happening. He says he'll stop if I mention look us up on Podpedia. I forgot the name for a second. Well, I'm not watching a man cut my leg off. What do you want? You can find us at podpedia.org, right?
Yeah, just look for HHA.
Yeah, that's our portal, HHA. I was going to get there. I just always forget the org part now that I remember the HHA part.
Exactly. And we did promise you guys that we would tell you what we will be discussing on our next episode.
Yes, and Maddie, why don't you do that? Because I can't remember.
All right. Well, my film, my friends, is going to be Dear Dead Delilah, a delightful southern comedic slasher film. It's 1313 Dead End Drive. That's basically what it is.
You didn't use nearly enough D's to describe your movie.
What? The 13.
It's too late.
Dead End Drive.
Work on it for the episode. We'll be okay.
And children.
And my movie is.
Yeah. I already started half of it.
No, I really don't know. What's my movie?
Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. That's right. The creepiest movie ever to be rated PG.
It's a wonderful film. A family-friendly masterpiece.
Apparently so. Full of potential necrophiliism and weird corpse cuddling. So yeah, watch them if you would like to follow along with our episode a little more logically. Or don't. Your choice. We're not here to tell you what to do.
Yeah. I guess this is the point at which I should probably tell you it looks like the cops are on a tail because they realized that order from the mayor was forged with crayon and construction paper.
Oh, they've been calling me this entire episode, and I'm pretty sure they've been outside the studio all night.
Oh, well, that's rather polite of them.
Yeah, and their lights have been on. You've just been facing away from the window.
Ah, well, thank God they don't have guns, right?
No, they do. I should probably go talk to them.